There's an old saying that a hunter walks out of the woods with a much lighter load than he was carrying when he went in. What does that mean? That means that we have a God who supplied everything that we need to grow closer to Him. That means as deer hunters, we were given a place to go to experience peace and to talk to God. And when we're sitting 20 feet off the ground and there's nothing but silence around us, we have the opportunity to seek God, to have conversation with Him, to praise Him and glorify Him for all of the things that He's done for us and all of the things that He's going to do for us. We're going to share a story with you on this episode. Not a story about us, but a story about how good God is, even when life seems to be bad. My wife and I have suffered great loss this past year. We suffered 2 miscarriages. We lost 2 baby boys. Something that I had been praying for. Something that I had been praying hard for. We didn't understand it. We're still hurt. We still have questions. But this is a story that will glorify God, even through the pain, even through the hurt, even through the questions. This is a story to share the goodness of God, to talk about the peace that He has given us during these traumatic times. God is our rock. He is our stronghold. He is our foundation. And without Him, we wouldn't make it through times like these. Times like these were sent to break us down. They have the ability to bring us to our knees. And honestly, that's exactly where we belong. On our knees. During the good times and the bad times, we belong on our knees and in conversation with God, thanking Him for bringing us a peace that surpasses all understanding. This is a story that will shine a light on the love of God and the goodness of God. What's up, guys? We've got a great hunt we want to share with you today, but first I've got a story that I want to share with you so that you'll know how special this deer was to me, and more importantly, I want to share this story so that God can be glorified. Like you saw in the intro, my wife and I, we lost 2 sons, and we've been dealing with grief and pain, and we've had questions for God, and this is really the first time that we're going to publicly share this story, or that I'm going to publicly share this story. I couldn't find it in me to ask my wife to sit down and tell her side, because the wounds are still fresh, and the pain never goes away, but it's just something right now that I think it'd be best if I just sat down and shared it with you. March 15th of this year, I went out to eat with my friends. I took my daughter out to eat. We went to a Mexican restaurant here, and my wife, she stayed back here at home, said she wasn't feeling real well, and before we even got our food that night, my phone rang, and it was Brooke calling, saying that, she thought something was wrong, that, that maybe she had just had a miscarriage. And I was hoping that wasn't the case, of course, but we left the restaurant right there and drove on home, and sure enough, she had had her first miscarriage there. And when I got home, I walked into something that I really wasn't prepared to walk into. And it really tested me as a man. It tested me as a husband and as a father and as a Christian. I just couldn't understand why that had happened to us. But some time went by, and we prayed about it and prayed together, and the good Lord blessed us not too long after that with a second pregnancy. We did an early gender reveal on the second one, and it was a boy. The first one was also a boy, but I'd been praying and praying for a boy. I love my daughter. She's our first child, but my dad raised me up on this place, and he taught me, about this property, everything about it, and about deer hunting and turkey hunting this property. And it's just always been a dream of mine to have a little boy to raise up and teach so that he can become a man of God. And God had other plans for us. On September 19th, Brooke was 13 weeks at that point, and we lost the first one at 10 weeks. This one was 13 weeks. We were all at home, and Brooke had been complaining about her stomach hurting all day. She came home from work early and got in bed, and of course I had that thought in the back of my mind, thinking, hey, this is just like the first time, and I was already on edge because of that first loss. And my mind was thinking the worst that evening, and I tried to pray through it. I tried to pray for positivity. But to be honest, it was almost like the Lord was preparing me for what was about to happen. It's like no matter how hard I prayed, something was telling me that something was wrong. And I was sitting there in the living room watching TV, and I heard Brooke call my name in a way that I've never heard her say my name, and it sent chills up my spine. I knew something was wrong, and so I ran from the living room to the bathroom, and I'm not going to get too detailed, but there's some things that are just better left unsaid. But basically Brooke had given birth in our bathroom, and the little boy was, he was 13 weeks, and when I walked in, Brooke was holding him in her hands. And that's an image in my mind that I'll never be able to get rid of. That was the hardest moment of my life, hands down. I ended up having to take him from her, which I did not want to do, but you could tell that, it had just ripped her heart out, and I ended up having to hold my son in my hands, and that's something that'll stick with me forever. And I want to say this right up front. By us sharing this story, we're not asking for anyone's pity. We're not looking for people to feel sorry for us. When something like this happens in our life, we have two options. One, we can let it break us down and tear us apart, or two, we can give it to God immediately. And by doing what I'm doing right now, this is my way of taking this to God, to surrendering everything to God. I pray that the bad things that have happened to us can be used for good, that God can turn around and use this so that somebody comes to know Jesus Christ, or that somebody hits their knees through a struggle similar to this and gives their life to God. That's what I'm hoping for by sharing this story. You know, like I just said, good things have came from this. We can't only focus on the bad, as hard as that is. And for a while, it's about impossible to focus on anything good. But, you know, through prayer and time spent with God, what's so amazing about God is He will reveal the good things that come out of it. God has a way of shining a light on things that He's already blessed you with. Maybe things that you've been looking over or overlooking, things that you've looked past because you've been focused on the negativity. And one of those things for me during this whole process has been my daughter, Catherine. Catherine's 5 years old, and I'll never forget the day she was born. I gave her to Jesus at the hospital before anything started. I called all the nurses together, my wife, we all prayed over her, and the pregnancy was extremely just smooth. Everything went smoothly, and it was an easy pregnancy. And you know, maybe we took that for granted a little bit. And you know, I love my daughter more than anything, but it's easy when bad things happen to kind of take our eyes off of the good things. You know, here a couple of weeks ago, I was able to take Catherine on her first deer hunt ever. And you know, that meant a lot to me as a father. Thinking back to my first deer hunt with my father, you know, it's something that, you know, that ranks up there with the day she graduates high school or the day that she's going to get married. That was a very special day for me. And right about that time, I started coming out of that slump, I guess you could say, and I started realizing that even though bad things have happened to us recently, that there are still good things. You know, what's awesome about God is even though we're sinners and we don't deserve it, He still sends us blessings. He still shines a light on the good things. And that's kind of the question I have today is can we still give God the glory during the hard times? You know, it's a challenge. It's tough. It's hard. But if we really want to move forward in a positive way, we have to do it under the strength of God and not our own strength, because we're really not capable of doing much at all without God. But dealing with grief and hurt and pain is definitely something that we've got to hand over to God and let Him lead us and guide us through that. In the book of Jeremiah, it says it very clearly right there. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, to give you a hope and a future." You know, through things like this, we can't get angry with God. We can't get mad at God. I think it's okay to ask some questions. I think it's okay to, you know, petition God, but it's not okay to get angry with God and blame God for these things. All we can do as Christians is use these things to turn it around and glorify God and show how good God is. Good things come from hard times, and you know, that's something we've got to focus on. We cannot stay focused on all of the negativity. It's just never going to help us. You look at Job, the story of Job from the Bible. Job went through everything. Job suffered greatly. And he never lost his faith in God. Job said in Job chapter 13, verse 15, though he slay me, I will hope in him. How awesome is that? This is a man that's lost his family, lost his fortune. Satan is literally attacking him, and Satan is wanting Job to curse God to his face, to turn his back on God and lose faith in God. But Job does not do it. He stays strong as he possibly can, by depending on God and talking with God. Through this whole thing, I think that's our only option. To see my wife hurting like she has been unbearable. And of course, I have my own feelings, but I put my wife's feelings before mine, and it's been really hard to watch her struggle through this. But I know for a fact if it wasn't for God, this would have probably torn us apart. We've both prayed. We've prayed together. We've given everything to God, and I'm glad that He kind of told me to do this, that I felt like I needed to do this. I felt like I needed to share this story so that He can be glorified. And that's what's important, that God gets all the glory in the good times and the bad times. And what's special about this deer and this hunt that we're about to share with you is that he came just at the right time. This was the biggest deer on our property. He's never, outside of the rut, we've never seen the deer in the daylight. We passed him multiple times last year during the rut, but this year the deer has not been on camera one time in the daylight. And I feel like this was what we call a God thing. I mean, this deer came out in the broad daylight, as you'll see. A very nocturnal deer. He's been nocturnal since he's been on this property for a long time, and just to see that deer stroll out there in the broad daylight like he owned the place really caught me off guard. But it's a blessing from God, and it's a blessing that that I don't deserve. And I give God all the glory and all the honor and all the credit for this deer and for what He's done in my family, what He's done through my life. He's really brought me so far, and I'm nowhere near the finish line, but I'm just glad to have a relationship with Jesus. I'm glad that He's still working on me, that I'm being sanctified, and that's really all we can hope for, is to surrender our life to Jesus and just let Him take control of our life, even when times are bad. And or should I say, even when times are good, especially when they're bad. He deserves glory through every aspect of our life. And we have to be selfless. We have to show some humility. We have to put our feelings aside and just pray and just seek God during these times. So, like I said, this was our first time really publicly sharing this outside of friends and family. And this is what Fueled by Faith Outdoors is about. It's about glorifying God through the outdoors. And in this case, it's glorifying God through tragedy and a great buck that He blessed me with. So this is a great deer. He's a hammer of an 8-point, and one of my best deer ever. So I'm excited for y'all to watch it. We've got the footage coming up right here. guys, I just shot a crab claw. I'm not quite sure what happened. There's still deer out here. I was paying attention to my rifle more than the camera, so after the shot, I'm not sure. I think I heard a crash. I'm sitting under an old hay barn this evening. I've got my camera tree arm on a big telephone pole. I know it looks uneven right now, but when you turn it out towards the field, it's level. But I'm here by myself, solo filming, and crab claws just came out. I can't believe it. I think I put a good shot on him. I was so excited, man. Whew, it hadn't set in yet. Whew, wow. I'm gonna play this footage back and see what it looks like. Hopefully it's a good hit. Hey, I just wanted to call y'all and tell y'all I just shot crab claw. Oh man. Well, I got more. Alright, Jake said he's coming over here too. No, I'll come to the house. Alright, love you. Well. Yes, sir. Got more deer out here. Alright guys, we got the crew here. I think we just shot crab claw. I hadn't looked for blood or anything, so played the footage back and it looked like I hit him good. So we're gonna go down here and see if we can find some blood. Got a doe too we need to go find. She's over here. Good job, bro. Thank you, buddy. I wanted to see if I could find the bullet. I've been bragging on them damn bullets. Okay. You hold this camera. Yes, sir. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Man, what a deer. Good girl. Good girl. Goodness gracious. Whew. You don't get much prettier of an 8 than that. No, sir. Goodness gracious. Thank you, buddy. Yes, I know it was easy, but hey.
I don't blame you.
You know how many big bucks these bottoms have cost us?
I guarantee you.
I mean, it was a good shot. I just wanted to be sure. I've been so confident before. These older, tough deer, man, they'll blow your mind.
That's right.
Good job, girl. Good job. Alright guys, I just got the deer out of the woods and got him back to the house. I hate we're not going to have any daylight to do an interview with him, because he definitely deserves it. This is a great Alabama 8-point. This is the best 8-point I've ever shot. Just a beautiful buck. We passed him last year as a 3-year-old, And he showed up this evening in the daylight. Been hunting this deer this year, and it's the first time he's daylighted to my knowledge. The weather's been great the past 2 days. Great deer movement yesterday afternoon. It was up in the high 20s this morning, and the deer didn't do much this morning over here, but this evening it was like a light switch went off. He came in broad daylight by himself. I couldn't believe it. Made a good shot on him. Had good blood, but he went down in a nasty bottom. Lost blood for a minute, so I just called in a dog, and the dog went to him in 30 seconds. So had a pretty rough drag out of there straight uphill, but he was worth every bit of it. This is going to end the story on old Crab Claw. He's a good one. Alright guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. This episode meant a lot to me personally. First off, the story that we shared just means the world to my wife and I, and to be able to take a buck like that here in Alabama was a blessing in itself. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that's been involved with my wife and I through this whole process. Pastor Mike Mazingo at Journey Church helped me tremendously, talking to me, and I think having a support system is very important. I'd like to thank my friends and my family, everybody that hung in there with us and kind of gave us some space when we needed it, and prayed over us and prayed for us. It's awesome to have a crowd like that around you that you can depend on, that'll lift you up to God. And it's been a journey, and like I said earlier, some good can come from bad things, so that's what we're trying to focus on right now, and we're trying to move forward and find joy and hope and peace and positivity, and the only place we're going to find that is through our relationship with Jesus. So we hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It means the world to us. We've got more footage coming. Jake and his daughter, they're going to share a hunt where Jake killed a great buck with his muzzle loader, and Bailey got one of her first deer too. So we've got a ton of footage coming up. Y'all hang in there with us. If you've never watched our content before, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a YouTube. We have a website, fbfoutdoors.com. You can find us there. If anybody who's going through any struggles that are similar to what my wife and I went through, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be glad to talk with you and pray with you, and just share our experience with you in hopes that it'll help you walk through yours. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We'll see y'all on the next one.